Podcast.
Hey yo, welcome to the Yellow Pickle podcast, Ep.3. I'm your host Chris with Ant and Mark, and we've got a special guest today. We've got my friend David, and just a bit about David. David is a software engineer. He's worked for a few financial organizations, public and private. He's been involved in the finance space, in both in building apps and tools, and also investing. But most importantly, he's here to discuss the topic of this episode, which is the 2016 bull market compared to the 2020 bull market we are currently going through now. David, you invested in 2016. You got me involved back then. That's when I first learned about crypto and got into this crazy roller coaster world of cryptocurrency. And we are here now. And I guess the whole point of us bringing you to this episode is if you can shed some light on what people could expect for first of all your experience from 2016, also what people can expect going for 2020. I just want to say, and Mark, welcome to the podcast. You're going to be asking some questions today. How you guys doing? You guys good?
Yeah.
Good, man. Yeah, excited. Yeah.
Cool. And most important question, David, how you doing, man? You good?
I'm good, man. I'm
Welcome to
good.
the podcast,
You
bro.
know.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Glad to be here. Pandemic edition. You know, I'm just here, and we're just happy to just be here and have a chat with you guys.
Cool, bro. Mark, yeah, man. If you want to kick it off, bro, and we'll get going, man.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so David, thank you for your time and coming on today as well. Just obviously me and Anne have a few questions just about the previous bull cycle in 2016. So first of all, when did you get into crypto and when you hear about it? And sort of what was your experience in 2016 during that bull cycle?
It was a roller coaster. It was a wild ride, and you know, I'm having like a bit of deja vu at the moment because of like the current run. A lot of things feel very like familiar, and how I got into crypto is really weird. So I heard about Bitcoin, and this was this was years ago. And then I actually bought my first Bitcoin when it was around £200. But then I remember selling it again not long after because I needed the money, which was really funny at the time. Yeah, yeah. So then obviously, you know, the thing started going off, and then I came back next year or the following year. And I said to myself, okay, cool. Let me actually take a look at this crypto stuff. Let me go in there and find out and learn about it just at the technical level. So I just went in there, kind of looked around what was happening, what was going on in the industry, and you know, I came across Ethereum at the time, and Ethereum was still, I think, still relatively new. It was around like $8 at the time. So I saw a post by the founder of Coinbase, and he kind of dropped a post explaining why he was excited about Ethereum, and that kind of led me to kind of follow the trail and look into it myself. And I thought, you know, like what they were offering at the time. I didn't have that much experience with Bitcoin. I mean, I just played around with that. I knew at the time it was really slow and easy to use, and I think what they were trying to do was just make it like a single utility of just payments. At the time, I think that's what people were using it for. But Ethereum, what I liked about Ethereum was that they were trying to build essentially like kind of like a platform that would allow, you know, other things. Basically, this thing could function as a payments or other things. It had like multiple utilities. So I thought that might be useful because as a developer, you know, I've worked with like the app stores, the iOS app store and Android app store, and I've seen how those economies have like gone massive. Like a lot of people have made money from that, big ecosystems. So I thought this might happen to crypto with Ethereum. I thought Ethereum would be in a good position to like, you know, push that forward. So I bought some at the time, and I think maybe the timing of this, maybe I just got lucky with the timing, but literally 3 months to, I think around April of that year, that's when things started like really started taking shape and gaining momentum. And when that happened, I remember like I thought, okay, cool. I think I sent a message to Chris and one of our other friends as well, and I said, you know, hey, listen, guys, I just want to share with you. I think you guys should get some of this stuff. I think it's going to take off. And Chris was, I think Chris was away actually. He was on holiday somewhere, and he was just so, he was good. He was going loopy. You know, he was just trying to buy this thing like abroad. I don't remember.
He was in Japan or so. Chris was when he was in Japan.
yeah. I was in Japan on holiday, and this guy calls me up like 2-3 in the morning. I'm like, let me pick this up. And he's like, yeah, there's this thing I've invested in. I bought a couple like $8, and it's like $32 now. And it's Ethereum, and it's like you can build. It's like a blockchain. You can build things on. I'm like, how much do I need to give you, bro? Just tell me. just, don't need to let me know. It's just how much I need to send you.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, I've got like about 1,300 in the bank. Let me just on it. And yeah, we'll go from there. And yeah, man, it went from like $32. I think in the space of like a month to like up to $100+.
Wow.
You know,
I think
it was crazy.
Yeah, I think the craziest thing about that was that when I invested in it, I kind of had it in my head that it would definitely get to like a really like high price at some point, just based on the value proposition of what it offered compared. And obviously, the only thing I can compare it to was Bitcoin. So I kind of used that as a basis. But then, like it got to that price within the same year. So it was a wild ride. Like the whole thing was wild. But
one thing, David, one thing I remember you telling me back then was you said that because of because of what Ethereum's utility was, which was people were building, in particular back then was the ICO boom, right? People were building a lot of their projects on Ethereum, and you said at the time Bitcoin was a great investment, but you thought Ethereum would outperform Bitcoin, and which it did in terms of the amount of gains that it made in that run. So what do you think about like that whole ICO? Like what was like that the whole run back then as well, which was like one of the main reasons Ethereum going crazy.
The ICO was a crazy thing, honestly. I think unfortunately, I think it was a good innovation, like because it allowed companies or teams really to raise money from anyone anywhere in the world. So the cause of it and the purpose was like really, really, really good and pure. But I think it just created a get rich quick environment. So it was just toxic. It was hostile. It was risky as well. You had projects that would just come out and just steal people's money. And the thing is, everyone was greedy. Everyone wanted to get rich. So they would just chuck in money at all these random projects. But it was crazy. I think that whole period was just a wild ride. A lot of those projects are dead. And I think at the time, my big thing at the time, what I was telling people, if you remember, Chris, was that I think with the ICOs, there were some good projects that came from that, but I was trying to tell people to really those were the things I think were gonna still be around, like the platforms themselves, so like the blockchains, the actual things that are the foundation of everything. Like those were still going to be around, in 4 or 5 years time. So they'll probably be a lot safer. But yeah, it's just hard, when everyone's just making money and a lot of stuff happening. Everyone just kind of makes irrational decisions.
David, sorry, question. Just to touch on that. Yeah. So back then, when you was looking into these coins, you was looking into there was Bitcoin at the time, and then Ethereum was popping off. Did you approach the token as like Bitcoin? Because a lot of people who want to get into the space are just seeing it as like, oh, these are just some digital coins, whereas Ethereum is more to it. There's a blockchain, there's people building stuff on it. Did you, during that time, were you like, oh, I need to get this token, or did you or were you looking at it as like, I want to see what the project is about first?
No, I think maybe because I had some experience like investing in equities just for a few years before I got into crypto. So I kind of brought that same kind of approach to that. I always just checked out the project. Yeah, I think the best thing about the crypto space, and maybe this is just relative to me because of what I do, but I could actually go in and look at, down at the code that these teams were trying to write and push, like look at the actual things like on a deeper level. So I could just, if a company or if a team tried to say something, I could just check whether they were bullshitting or not.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, maybe that gave me the edge. Maybe that's what the thing was. But I always
one of those teams you vetted out, which I'm heavily invested right now, is Icon. You remember an ICO is an initial coin offering. It's kind of like a Kickstart, right? So they ask the public to come in and fund it, so they fund the project. And I remember you, David, saying that Icon, they're building their own blockchain, and you really went into the team, the development side of it, and we invested in it, and it did very well. But everything back then was all speculative at the end of the day. But fast forward to 4 years from now, Icon, everything they had on their roadmap back then, they've delivered, regardless of the price now. They've actually delivered and built on that blockchain and built the partnerships. And that's probably one of the projects I think is going to do very well in this space. But yeah, like that, when you told me about that project, and we invested in it initially for 11 cents, and by the end of the bull run, it hit $12, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But it was because of that research you did, because when new people came into this space, they pretty much they did the same research, and that's where all the money started pumping in. So definitely research is important when you're trying to invest into a project or coin, let's say.
Yeah, I think you need to do some due diligence. I mean, like that is just common sense. At the end of the day, when you're buying these things, just remember you're buying into the team. There's people behind it. So most of it comes down to like whether you trust the team enough that they're gonna like execute on what they say they're gonna do. And that's really it. That's the same thing as like when you buy shares on a company, you're really backing like the team behind it, and you're trusting that they're going to be able to like execute that.
It's true.
Because a lot of teams, a lot of those ICO projects, I think literally like so many of them just died, and a lot of them got into a lot of trouble for what they did. But yeah, it's research. I think you need to do some due diligence. As like in terms of like what I think the main thing I was trying to like really kind of differentiate was the fact that the blockchain native coins were different to the tokens. The tokens were were way more riskier because essentially like any developer could create these things. So that you could have, there was some garbage out there. Like there were literally some things that, one developer could just make and just put them on the market, and he could just dump them, in like a week and just make a lot of money from everyone.
Yeah.
And the public wouldn't really know, But and that happened a lot. That happened so many times. So
So before we go into the next question, I want to ask you, so before we go, just quick one. What coins did you have back then? How much did you, if you don't mind disclosing it, you don't have to, but how much did you invest at the time? And what was it worth at the peak of the bull run? So what coins did you have out there which performed really well for you? And how much did you put in initially? And then what did you invest? How much did it reach? Just some rough numbers. If you want, you don't have to, obviously.
So I started with, I think the funny thing is I only ever invested just $3,000, and that was it. I never put any more than that. So at peak, that went into several six figures. That was during the peak run, but that was just reinvesting that initial $3,000. It almost became a mantra. Like I didn't want to put any more money into it, just cause that's I don't know. I was on a run. Things were going good, and I just wanted to see how much I can keep pushing that. And I was feeding my own juice. I guess I was hiring my own supply of what I was doing. But yeah, I think it during the whole thing, it was quite peak. I did really well. Obviously the crash came afterwards. I managed to take a little bit out. I think everyone, pretty much the whole market got burnt. I don't think everyone was expecting that. Just literally just like $3,000, and all of that went into purchasing Ethereum to begin with.
I think before your question comes up, one of the learning experience I would say that hit me hard was because I didn't understand. It was the first sort of bull cycle market, whether it was stocks or anything that I originally invested into. I was very euphoric, and I never thought it would ever come down. I was in that mindset that this is going to keep
Yeah.
going up, and that's one of the
Yeah.
mistakes. That's one of the mistakes I made personally, was not selling at the top, and was holding
Yeah.
very low, and eventually selling low. Yeah, still made some profits, but you could have at the top would have been life changing. So that's definitely something where I would suggest to everyone, if you're invested now, you got to take profits along the way, and you got to be ready to pull that trigger. You know, greed is a real emotion, and it kicks in as you know what I mean. And you want to make sure you're just ready. Don't be holding that. You know, reward yourself at the end of the day. So yeah, definitely.
I think
David, did you pull out just in time, or did you lose from when it dumped?
I took out money kind of periodically. I think that's one thing I learned is that you have to lock in your profits. Like Chris said, you can't just you got to think like a capitalist. You know, you have to think like an investor, and you have to have some ground rules or some rules that you follow to allow you to like take some profits out. And again, it depends on what you're doing. If you're just in it for the long run, maybe you might not do that. But I took money out periodically. I think I'm more pissed at like not the bad plays, but the missed opportunities. Like I think my biggest regret was not being aggressive enough. That's my biggest.
Only putting 3K, not putting a bit more, bro.
Is that what you mean? Yeah.
That's it.
No, actually, it wasn't even that. It was just like it's weird. So I think I probably only had one real bad play. Not bad, but it didn't really work out. But everything else just was a call. And I just wished I'd been more aggressive like in those calls. I remember I had a friend who I got into it, and this guy, he was aggressive. He just he didn't really know this stuff, and I helped him kind of understand it. But he didn't hesitate. He was dropping in like really heavy amounts. But he made a lot of money out of it at the end. So I think that's what I wish. Like I was probably more aggressive than like in what I did. I could have made maybe like probably like way more than I did.
Yeah. Well, that's quite amazing. An $8 Ethereum, and it's currently sitting at 550, I think, at the moment. On the next question. So obviously, we're sort of we're in the bull market now at 2020. 2016 was different. What differences can you see, whether that's the price or the volume or the market caps going up? What differences can you see currently?
It's a good question. The main thing I noticed, I think I told Chris this earlier, was that this is definitely a more mature, like grounded run. The last run was just purely speculative. No one knew what they were doing. Everyone thought they knew what they were doing, and everyone was clearly wrong because when that crash happened.
David,
can you guys hear me?
David,
say that again.
Yeah, go back and go back and start that again.
Okay, can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yeah, we good.
Yeah, I was just saying that I think the difference is that I think you have a lot more institutional money coming into the market now, and that's really changed the tone. Because if you notice that, I think one of you asked a question earlier, like, was I able to pull out enough or like just in time? The problem with me is that I noticed like when things started feeling weird, and that happened when during the peak, you had so much money going into like some of the most like shittest things, right? And I remember telling my friend, like, you know what, I think we need to probably like pull some out because this is just feeling like it's probably felt like what those guys felt like during the subprime mortgage crisis in 2008. There was just so much money into like really bad projects. It just felt wrong at the time. And the thing was that everyone was talking about crypto. Like my barber was talking about crypto. Yeah, like everyone was talking about crypto. This just felt weird at the time. It went from being an underground thing a couple of months ago, and then everyone was talking about crypto. But this year, I don't know if you noticed, but crypto, like Bitcoin, still hasn't really taken the headlines. It's just been COVID pandemic stuff, right? but despite that, it's still growing in the background. I think what's happening is I think a lot more institutional money is coming in. So big hedge funds or funds, companies as well, they're buying a lot of Bitcoin. And I noticed that I noticed that the corrections now are not as bad as they were before. Like before in the last cycle, the correction was so bad, you lose, not uncommon to lose so much like during the corrections before
What
it
sort
goes back
of
up.
percentages were the corrections?
Oh, it's still bad. I mean, like
Just do
the
Bitcoin.
altcoins were worse.
Yeah, let's talk about Bitcoin. Altcoins was like, yeah.
Altcoins
Talk
were
about altcoins.
worse.
You look
One
at
minute, like, your portfolio's up, it's looking great. And, the next week it's like, you're nearly crying. it was, it was really bad. But Bitcoin, Bitcoin still had its corrections. Like it'll go, sometimes it'll go down maybe a couple of hundreds, couple of grands, depending. It was just really bad.
I noticed it was going down back then, like 35-40%,
Yeah, I
and
would say
now,
about 30-40%.
yeah, now I'm seeing more like 15-20% type corrections now. Still a lot, but compared to back then, like, yeah, this is actually, it's just like a little tickle,
Guys,
isn't it? Right
question
now.
for both of you. You guys still there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, sorry, went a bit blank for a second. Yeah, it's going again.
I'm here. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
I'm here, yeah.
It's all right. It's all good.
Yeah.
No, that's very good. Already, it's very good information. Just obviously previous history, now you both, for me, you know what to expect. You know what strategy you want to put in, and you know what platform you want to work off and stuff. And I think I mentioned this to Chris before, David, is, when do I start putting my stop losses in on the exchange? Like, when do I pull it out of the ISA accounts and stuff? And then, well, I call it ISA accounts, they're not ISA accounts. But when do I pull it out and then start doing my stop losses? And what am I going to be happy with? So
yeah, I think, to be honest, I don't think this is like the true run at the moment. I just think what's happening right now is, I think the investors, the large investors, are having FOMO between each other. That's what I think. So you can imagine, because this news is now starting, well, Bitcoin is now starting to spread and be accepted, like with big hedge funds or large funds. If I'm let's say this, if I manage a fund of 10 million or maybe like 100 million, and my competitor is starting putting money.
Oh, I'm losing everyone today. Fall like flies.
I can briefly hear David. There he is. He's back. He's back.
David, go back 5 seconds. Go back like 20 seconds. What you were saying.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
You were talking about the FOMO of corporations and hedge funds and.
Yeah, I think corporations and funds are having a bit of FOMO with each other, because can you imagine? So here's the scenario. I'm managing a fund. I've got a couple million, 100 million under my fund, and my competitors has started putting their money or shareholders' money into Bitcoin. I'm probably going to get shit from my shareholders asking me why I'm not doing the same thing. So I think that's happening quite a bit right now, and it's just going to start following the trail. It's just going to start spreading amongst those guys, especially with companies, because they're noticing that some of these companies, they bought Bitcoin earlier in the year, like Square, and I can't remember the other company, and that the amount that they bought a large amount, which has already ballooned up in value. That's just added more money into their war chest. So what I think is going to happen now is the investors are going to just keep buying large amounts of Bitcoin, and the kind of everyone else who I think falls into three categories. So you've got, and this is the public, I think it's made up of three types of people. You've got people who got burned in the last cycle, who, and I think these guys are too burnt to get involved again, because I asked my friend the other day, the stock market, especially with tech stocks, is rallying as well, so he's more involved in that. And I asked him, have you got some money in crypto? And he said no, he was just too hurt from what happened last time. And another friend is in the same boat as well. And then you've got another group where these are people who were kind of in doubt were skeptical in the last run. They never got involved. I think these people are indifferent. They're probably thinking the same thing is happening again, so they're not really kind of getting involved. Maybe some of them might jump in because they're seeing more corporations than investors getting in. And then you've got the last one, which are people like one of my other friends who just came in through like some other thing as a side effect from some of the thing we were doing, and he's coming in with fresh pair of eyes. But this group, I still don't think this group is what's driving the rally right now. I think it's just investors. I think what's going to have to happen is we're going to have to get to like a new all-time highs for Bitcoin, so it starts taking the headlines, so then everyone else starts reacting to that. And I think we are going to kind of go get to that at some point. But this is not even, I think this rally is literally just like institutional money coming in at the moment.
Oh, FOMO's real, eh? Even between the corporations.
Yeah.
These big investors, you think that they know, they understand the market, like, you know, because you both obviously got experience from 2016. Do you think all these massive big time investors have people like yourself with this type of knowledge, you know, advising them what's happening next year or what's predicting to happen?
Yeah, I do. I think a lot of investors, like, if you're putting 50 million, 100 million, that's even if it's 1% of their portfolio and 1% of their balance sheet, that's still a lot of money. You're not going to just throw it in blindly. They definitely have invested in a team that understands blockchain, the cryptocurrency space, and just Bitcoin and the history of Bitcoin in these markets. So yeah, 100%. They're not just throwing their money in for no reason. They know what they're doing. They know what they're investing in. So yeah, this is not like a speculative thing where it was 4 years ago. It's now seen as a hedge against, you know, for your money to help your investment stay strong and grow.
Follow the smart money.
Yeah, you still think it's a good thing that all these big time investors, is it going to help the retail investors, or is it going to be
No, I don't think. No, I think it's going to help on two. Well, yes and no, right? I think it's helping Bitcoin because it's kind of stabilizing the price. And that's what I was telling Chris, like before, the reason why there was so much like corrections and there was such big corrections was because most of the money coming in and out was from retail investors who would just be reacting with the time. But these guys, you know, these big funds, they're putting a small amount of their funds into Bitcoin, but it's still a large amount. And now I think the mixture of these guys and the whales, I think what they're doing, they're just holding now because, and ever like in all history, the corrections are just virtually, they're manageable. Maybe like even for these guys, maybe putting a lot of money, it's manageable, it's fine. I think like the alts right now, the demand for alts right now is literally being driven by guys like Chris or guys like me who were in the previous cycle, who might still avoid Bitcoin right now and are trying to chase gains from the alts to trying to outperform Bitcoin. I think that's what's pushing those prices up now. And again, remember I said that I don't think the everyone else, the other retail investors in those groups, I don't even think they're involved right now. I don't think we're not even there yet. But you know, when they do come, then it will definitely have a huge impact. But I think the problem is that there's going to be like a shortage supply of Bitcoin because there's only 2.5 million left to mine. These companies and these investors are buying, and they're buying large amounts, like a large amount of Bitcoins. So I think what's going to happen is, so I said basically, I don't think that's good for everyone else. What that means is that the shortage of supply coming with big demand is going to push the price at some point through the roof. It's just the laws of supply and demand. And these guys are going to be holding that Bitcoin. They're not going to want to sell it. You know, they're using it as a hedge against inflation and the economy.
Okay, good to know. Got a question for you after based on that. But my next question is, what mistakes did you make that you are going to, you're going to correct this time around, this cycle compared to 2016? Or
that's a good question. I think the main thing, maybe Chris pointed this out earlier, but
You're gonna pull that trigger.
you know, I think all I could say is just, you know, I'm gonna just definitely, and I thought I was pretty rational before, but I think I'm gonna be even more rational and just like think about, it's all about the profits. My goal are the profits. That's my short term, and you know, I have my long term goal, which is I've got a strategy, an investment strategy for long term, but right now I'm literally just focusing on like short term profits and short term gains. So I think you've got to approach it to like, don't wed yourself. All I would say is that don't wed yourself to like a particular thing and build like emotion around that. You've got to think rationally. You've got to think as a capitalist, and you've got to think about profits, and you've got to think about the gains, I think.
Yeah, for me, it's just don't get attached. I got attached to a lot of my coins back then and holding them.
Yeah, a lot of people did. Yeah.
And you got to pull that trigger. So, but one thing I think I would say is because I didn't invest consistently like I am doing now. I do admit I do invest monthly and I do add more every time. I think that gives me confidence now to dollar cost out because I am investing more and I am happy to take profits out because I am putting more in. So instead of just putting one chunk and waiting for it to get to like $1 million, I'm not doing that. I'm actually constantly investing. So I am confident in taking bits here and out. So that's what I would, you know, that's the difference I'm doing anyways, that I'm pulling out earlier and yeah, getting that strong pull out game, man.
Pull out game.
Yeah, when you said that, yeah, I'm pulling out earlier. Yeah, like just getting good at that.
You know, guys then pull out, so you get left with that. They get left with that baby, man. They get left with no one's baby, man. I play, man. I play.
Okay, cool. Okay, back to the price. All right. So, got 2 questions. Well, 4 questions.
Okay, cool.
What do you think? Yeah, these are quick questions, so no need to elaborate too much. What do you think the Bitcoin price is going to be September next year?
I think I'm going to get to 30K.
September next year.
September next year. So
next year.
I think we'll definitely push past. I think we'll get to 25K. I think maybe we'll retract a little bit. But as I said, I think there's going to be a lot of institutional money, especially if they start FOMOing like between themselves. I think that's going to hold. I don't think we're going to see like a crazy correction like the last run. And then, but I think we will hit 30K by the end of the year. That's
you mean no next year? 12 month.
September next year.
So wait, hold on, I didn't catch that. I think that's
30K by Christmas is cool with me.
September 2021.
David, did you get that? Well,
September 2021.
Yeah. Your price prediction for Bitcoin,
okay.
September 2021.
Yeah, I think I definitely think between 25 and 30K.
Next year.
That's what I think. For next year.
Yeah, next year, next September, 12 months from now. You think 25K?
Yeah, 12 months from now. Yeah, I think we're going to push to 30K. That's
30K.
You don't think 30K is like February?
That's like next week, bro. That's concerning.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, yeah, no. I think it's all going to depend on when we break that 20K. That's really going to be the key part, I think. Just see how the market reacts to that. Because it's almost like a mental thing. Like for everyone, it needs to cross that 20K again. Because that's going to match the all-time high from the previous all-time high. I think once we start breaking past that, you know, as I said again, I the reason why I say 30K is because I think at 30K is when it's going to become, or it's kind of towards that, it's going to start like dominating the headlines. And then I think we're going to get the FOMO kick in from like the public and everyone else.
So you think it's going to be that quick, big push past 30K after that? Okay.
Yeah.
So
I think
is 100K possible?
100K.
Yeah.
Yeah,
big
I do. I think so. Yeah.
So what would be your October prediction?
Okay.
What, next year as well?
Yeah, the following month.
The following month. No, I don't.
When do you see 100K kick in it? When do you predict that 100K price?
I think 100K personally, I think we're going to need to fully mine all the remaining units. That's what I think. I think we're going to need to, I think until every Bitcoin has been mined, and then some sort of news or something breaks out announcing that, and then people realizing, I think that's when it's going to trigger the real FOMO, like the real FOMO. And I think that's when we're going to start really like breaking like new all-time highs. But I personally, I don't know if we'll get to 100K unless that happens first. So that's kind of like the trigger. That's what I think.
Okay. Cool.
The 100K, the 100K, you know, I'll admit, I don't have like a lot of analysts have called, you know, there's one analyst who predicted like 300K by next year. I think stuff, I think stuff like that is just a bit ridiculous. I don't know what has been based on, but I just know that until those remaining units have been mined, because if you think about it, like what
it's true.
Can you imagine the day that breaks out and then, you know, every Bitcoin has been mined now? It's basically last, you know, basically just come and get it now. Whatever's left, that's what's going to be the total. Like whoever's selling, you know, that's all that's available now. And if more and more people don't sell and they keep, then I think that's going to have an impact, a big one.
Okay. For my next question, Chris, when do you think it's going to hit 100K?
Next year, September. I'm going to the moon.
Okay, David, let's go back. Let's bring it down back to earth. You've bought Ethereum back in the day, $8. It went to 32. Today, sitting at $550. What is your price prediction for January next year? And then what do you think it's going to end on around September, October?
So I think, I definitely think you can kind of get to between 600 to 800 price levels. But again, Ethereum is probably going to have to push that kind of weird price range of like $1,000, because that was his all-time high during the last cycle. It really depends. I think you know, with Ethereum 2 coming out, I think that's going to have like some volatility around it. But first and foremost, I think the gas fees just need to come right down. Ethereum gas fees right now is just insane, and that's crazy, because I remember when I first got into it, one of the things it stipulated was being superior to Bitcoin, being faster, being cheaper. But these gas fees are just like crazy. I think I was dealing with Ethereum for the first time in ages a couple of weeks ago, and I remember I was trying to send something, and the transaction fee was going to cost me like $2 or something, $2-3. It's obviously really congested right now because of, you know, everything that's going on. So they have a big thing to prove, because they came out saying that, you know, this thing was going to be faster and easier to use and better, but it sounds like it's having a problem scale with all this activity being built around it. And to be fair, they couldn't have predicted that. They just launched it, and that's just one of the things that comes with like when you build and release like software. So it depends on Ethereum 2. I think if Ethereum 2 can solve a lot of problems, I think that will help. I think that will increase the price, because I think there'll be a lot of positive that's happening around it. I think that's the stuff that's really pushing Ethereum forward, to be honest. All the stuff going on around that.
Nice.
So that's I think you can get to sort of like around 600 to 800 price levels. That's what I think around that time.
What about end of the bull cycle?
What's that?
What do you think the price is going to be at end of the bull cycle?
End of the bull cycle.
Yeah.
Ethereum's a hard one. It is a hard one.
If Ethereum 2.0 doesn't happen, what's the price?
If that weren't happening, it could push past 600, maybe go to 700. But what's going to happen with that, because of the activities, the fees will increase as well, and I think that might put people off. If the fees are becoming so much, especially if you start dealing with like a big amount of capital, moving that around, that's going to start costing quite a bit for you to care about. You know, you're going to start caring about that, and I think that will come with a lot of negativity, a lot of negative sentiment, which might affect the price. But yeah, it depends. A lot of it's hinging on Ethereum too, I think.
So it has to happen.
Yeah, well, I think
that needs to happen.
Yeah, I think they'll bring out Ethereum 2.0. There's too much money been put into this whole Ethereum project for them not to bring that out or try to bring it out. I think by January the price of Ethereum will touch $700 definitely, and I still think the development of Ethereum is just going to keep going forward. Especially we're coming into this whole new DeFi, high decentralized finance now. So many projects being built on Ethereum as well for DeFi, and I just think next September, I can see Ethereum smashing about. I see Ethereum smashing 1,400, the original all-time high, probably around summer, and then bang, it's gonna go 10x from there. Maybe a 5x. Sorry, no, not 10x. I'm not gonna lie, that's too moon boyish. I'm gonna say probably like a 3 to 5x from there. We might see a $3,000, $4,000 Ethereum by next September.
Really? That's very optimistic.
And I see
you should hear my price prediction.
Add to your price prediction. What's your price prediction with Ethereum?
10 to 15k. Did I say 20?
Really?
Did I say 20? Yeah, it might have been 20.
Yeah, that's a bit too much. I'm conservative with 3,000. That's me. It's gonna.
My conservative was $6,000.
Guys, listen, I have to tell you, these are like crazy numbers.
I know, but think about it. $8 to 1.2. $8 to 1,200. That's a billion X. I'm kidding.
That's the thing, though. It's weird because the one thing I would say is, I personally think you shouldn't try not to compare with the prices from the last cycle. That was an anomaly. It was crazy. It was crazy. This is probably a better one to use because it's more, as I said, it's more grounded. It's more real. I think the prices for some of these things reflect what they actually are, reflect the sentiment of everyone else and how they feel. The last one was just really crazy. Don't get me wrong. I think Ethereum is going to be if Ethereum can really prove the scaling problem after 2.0, if they can prove that, then I think they've got a lot of room to grow, especially with the DeFi stuff. That's really going to push it forward. And again, I think they will do. They need to so they need to lock in a number of ETH into the validators to allow that to happen. Which I think they
200,000 ETH or something like that. It's about 200,000 or more.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact number, but they first need to cross that bridge, and when that happens, then get 2.0 out, and then actually see if it does help with the scaling, if it does bring the fees down. So they do those things. Those are kind of the first baby steps. Then I think it will have, if that coincides with a bull run that might come after that from the retail. Yeah, what are you drinking, man? That's for next year. That's crazy.
You know what?
I don't know. What need to see?
Corona. You got the Corona.
Okay, yeah.
I think
got that Corona. You got that.
You know what we'll have to do? We just have to refer back to this video a year from now, and let's see what happens in it. Drinks on the one who's the furthest away. That's what you can say.
Yeah, that's a good plan, man. Yeah. And as I said, no one really knows, but I think that's the thing about crypto, and that's a part of it that I kind of like. I like the volatility because obviously, volatility is what brings you gains. Brings you loss, but you want that activity. So, yeah, we'll need to see. I think.
Oh, you like the rush, yeah.
Yeah, I do. I'm not gonna lie. I think that's a problem. I was telling this to Chris. The problem with when you have when you're in the markets, the fiat markets, everything stops. It's only open Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
But with crypto, it's 24/7. That shit is just clockwork every single day. So you're just always on it every time.
Cool. Definitely. All right, David, I want to say thank you for coming on the show, enlightening us from your experience from 2016.
Thank you, David.
No worries.
Hopefully, we'll go back a year from now and check out our predictions and see who is the closest But yeah, do you want to
No,
add anything?
we need to do. We need to. I really want to see that now. I definitely need to come back and see.
It's on the it's on the blockchain now. No, it's not really, but it's on YouTube. But no, on the real, it's been a pleasure, bro. Hopefully, we'll get you on again down the line. Hopefully, Bitcoin's of 100K, Ethereum's 10K, and then we can celebrate regardless. But no, I appreciate you coming on, bro. Really appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
that's all good, man. Thanks for having
Cheers,
me.
David. Thanks
and
for
Mark, and Mark, always a pleasure. Catch you guys on the next one, yeah?
cool, guys.
Yeah.
Take care, fellas. See you later.
Yeah.
See you later.
Yellow Pickle. Yellow Pickle Podcast.
And you're frozen. You're frozen. Anthony, can you hear me?
Yellow Pickle.
Cut this out anyway.
Podcast.
Oh, he's gone.
Yeah.
It's all right. David, he's just staring into your eyes. He's trying to get the wisdom out of you.
I don't know if it's a wine I'm drinking, but it's like, looking right, right at me.
Yellow Pickle. Yellow Pickle Podcast.